On today's show,
I didn't know what emotional cheating was. So you know what? You emotional cheating. That's the same thing. Somebody like told me, like, that's the same level as you physically cheating. I'm like, whatever. If you go sleep with somebody and you talk to somebody, them two different things to me.
Okay.
That's what the mental aspect of where I was in that immaturity. I didn't understand that. But when I started thinking about like, okay, you know what? There are steps to physical cheating. Because you're going to cheat in your mind before you cheat physically in most cases. Most of us ain't going out there being an HO and going to do whatever. Yeah, HOE. Ain't this HO? Ain't ho? Okay, HOE.
Why are you going to spell it out and then say it?
Well, you brought up, you had to correct me. So I was like, I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, HOE.
The opposite sex friendships post-marriage can be very challenging.
Okay. Hold on. Opposite sex, you mean like saying, you a female, you married to me, and you have a male,
like best friend.
Hold on, that ain't possible.
Well,
that ain't possible.
Not possible. Oh,
that ain't possible. That's my personal. I don't think that's possible.
There's some people out here that be like, oh, he's been my friend for 15 years. Like what you saying?
If y'all doing that, you need to cut that out. That's trouble. That's trouble.
Not mixing words today.
Yeah, ain't no man gonna sit there and let another man be a best friend to his wife. I don't think that's possible.
We are Tristan and Michael. When we got married, we didn't really know what we were getting into. The busyness and challenges of a blended family, trying to figure out how to love an imperfect person, dealing with the ups and downs of becoming one, and everything that goes into having a successful relationship. Let's learn how to heal, how to forgive, and how to grow. This is Fused. Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristan and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, transparent conversations for marriage, family, and relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss perspectives that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and family to check us out and connect with us on social media at Fuse Marriages, or join us for our conversation by emailing us at info@fusemarriages.com. All right, Mr. Coulter, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good today.
Good.
You know what I mean? A lot of things are moving.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of different pieces, but I got an amazing partner to go through life with, do these things with, raise these kids, business stuff, personal stuff.
Come on now.
Family stuff. So yeah, I'm feeling real good.
Make it do what it do.
Trying to. Got to, man. We only got a short while, you know what I mean? Let's go on and do it. They say short, but you know what I mean? It's relative, but you know what I mean? We got to just go, hey, make something happen.
Trying.
Yeah.
Leave something behind.
Leave something.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
So we got a real topic we jumping into
today.
Man,
we got a super real topic, right? Yeah. I think a lot of people may fall into this by accident, right? And the topic we're talking about is emotional cheating, y'all. Emotional cheating. Ooh. Not physical cheating. That's a whole nother level.
That's a different time. That's a different conversation.
Right. But typically physical cheating is the result of emotional cheating. You emotional cheat first, and then you go to physical cheating.
Both men and women?
Both men and women. I think it's easy. People can fall into it. Easy. And I say it's really unsuspecting, right? You don't necessarily think you are doing anything wrong, but just it kind of leads into something else. So
you might know, but it's that one step that you give yourself permission to take. And then you give yourself permission to take another and another. And you end up just far down the line in a situation or a relationship that is like, oh man, I'm making some pretty big mistakes.
It happens. So we have an article we're gonna read. This. I mean, y'all may know about it. If y'all don't, there's a pastor named John Gray came out recently with some stuff that he may had did whatever. So we can just read the article so we can kind of discuss a little bit. So let's
jump on in. Okay, so this article actually came out from Yahoo News, November 2020, and it says, the popular South Carolina pastor of the Relentless Church has been accused of cheating as far back as 2019. In an interview on The Real in March 2019, Pastor Gray said his affair was emotional, not physical. He claims that when he and his wife were having problems, he confided in someone other than a counselor or a pastoral leader and admitted it was wrong, despite Gray's insistence that he did not physically cheat on his wife. However, there remains speculation that the affair was not, in fact, more than emotional.
Yeah, I think just even that last sentence there's speculation, right? When you emotionally cheat, it's like people look at you like, did y'all just dog? That's it?
Yeah.
Like that talking didn't lead to nothing. So like you almost plant the seed in other people's mind, your spouse's mind. Like, okay, how I know though?
Yeah, but there's something for me, in this article, and not just John Gray. He's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
a
yeah,
face
yeah,
to
yeah.
kind of this conversation. But the idea that emotional cheating is somehow less detrimental than physical cheating. Like even the article says, that John Gray says through this article, like, oh, well, it was just emotional. It wasn't physical. That to me is almost more, and this might not be all of you guys, so let us know what you think.
Right.
But that to me is almost more dangerous. That means that you've created a connection with somebody outside of, okay, well, we just sleeping together. I needed to get one off. I'm good. I was having problems. I needed to feel physically like attractive or whatever. But the fact that you would give yourself in this kind of internal way,
Right.
in this connection that I'm having with somebody, where I'm sharing my thoughts and I'm feelings, that's a deeper level, like almost more hurtful, because to have an emotional connection, you have to spend a little more time.
Yeah.
Like a physical connection, call somebody up, hey, what you doing? What's good? Let's
Right.
meet up. Emotional connection, you are pouring out your feelings and your perspective and your thoughts, and you're getting feedback and you're sharing back and forth. I think that that's even, a more challenging place to be.
No, I think it absolutely is deeper. So I know I can speak for myself, in some early relationships, I didn't know what emotional cheating was. So you know what, you emotional cheating. That's the same thing. Somebody like told me, like, that's the same level as you physically cheating. I'm like, whatever. If you go sleep with somebody and you talk to somebody, them two different things to me.
Okay.
That's what the mental aspect of where I was in that immaturity. I didn't understand that. But when I started thinking about, like, okay, you know what? There are steps to physical cheating, because you're going to cheat in your mind before you cheat physically in most cases. Most of us ain't going out there being an HO and going to do whatever.
HOE.
Yeah. HOE. Is ain't this HO? Ain't ho? Okay. HOE.
Why are you gonna spell it out and then say it?
Well, you brought up, you had to correct me, so I was like, I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, HOE.
Okay.
I think back in school, I think I just put on my, she is a. We didn't put the E. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the
Okay.
correct.
Thank you. Told you you be correct. I ain't got no problem with that.
We're a
Keep me
team.
right.
I'm trying to help.
Keep
We're
me
trying to help
right.
each other.
Keep me
We got each other's back.
Right, but like I didn't necessarily know like that really would affect somebody. Because I'm like, for me, I'm like, man, if you talking to somebody versus sleeping with somebody else and we together, them ain't the same. But like when you go to the deeper part of, like, okay, hold on, my girl gave herself mentally and emotionally to somebody else.
Or my dude, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even. Yeah, that's hard for
That'd
me.
be hard for a lot of women because guys don't generally as freely give themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're
That's not
with
true,
somebody
though.
that's not,
That's not true.
oh, okay,
That's not true.
okay, talk to me.
Because you just said guys don't freely give themselves.
I said generally. Okay.
Generally, I think guys generally do give themselves.
Oh.
It's just they may not be giving themselves to you.
But that's where I was going with that. Is that it's like, okay, well, he's not exposing who he really is to me, but he's talking to this chick over here. Like, why not me? So it's even a more kind of, why come? Like,
Right.
why couldn't I
Right.
have that part of you? That
Right.
can be that could be devastating
Yeah.
to the relationship, almost unovercomable. Not to say that it's not. So there are some people in our audience that have dealt with this. So we would really, truly value your perspective and your
Absolutely.
opinion. How did you overcome? If you did, why was this so challenging for you, either on the male or the female side? So when we were talking about this conversation, you laid out like 3 key areas in which
Yeah.
emotional cheating is more prevalent.
Yeah, I think they happen in certain areas, right? They can happen in other areas, right? It can happen randomly, I guess. You're in a grocery store and you kind of meet somebody and start having, I mean, that can happen that way. But like, I think some of the top reasons, or at least about the first one, is, work, right? Because typically now we're in, COVID, whatever, but typically we're going to a physical place and spending time with these people on a day in and day out basis, right? If we look at what happened, say in John Gray's case, he was going to, his place of work, you know what I mean? And then they're having some conversations with somebody evidently. And I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just speculating here that, and then just kind of just led into something else. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Oh, why don't you tell me about it? And he started talking. Oh yeah, man, just working, I've got all this pressure on me, this and the other. Oh, it's okay. Give him a side,
That's your woman.
Yeah, so it's okay. Just keep talking, type of deal, whatever. So it's like, but then he said, okay, man, keep talking, okay? I can't talk like this at home.
Hmm.
I'm going through like a scenario. I don't know if this is true or not. So,
But we've talked about this before, like being a safe place for somebody to land, like you being, and that doesn't mean that there can't be conflict, because I think a lot of times it's like this weird fine line between, okay, how can I have these real conversations and still be safe and still be like a secure home or a secure relationship? And you always have to kind of tread that line, because you can't be so light that you're not really addressing things and you're just brushing them under the carpet or scooting them to the back aisle. But you also can't always be like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, so that people feel that like, okay, I can't even talk about what's going on in my life because of all this nonsense, or we can't even talk this out because there's always chaos. So I find that one in particular is really interesting, because it's so it's so covert. Like when we talk about work, a lot of times, hey, we're going out as a group, going out to eat lunch, or they stopped by my office, I was having a bad day, I just kind of let it out, or they just asked me kind of what kind of things I'm into and showed interest in that, or talked about the pictures on my desk, or whatever. And then those progressive, like we talked about in the beginning, those progressive, really small steps that can lead you down a path if you're not very conscious and very aware. And nobody is immune to this. Like we talked about, this can happen in the church, this can happen in the classroom, this can happen anywhere that you go, because I find that it's those little steps that if you are not being deliberate, you can walk down that path and be like, hold on, hard stop, like no, right, like I have something more important than that. So we said, that's the work. Those are the people that you talk to every day. And they're generally more friendly. And on top of that, we spend a lot of time with the people that we work with.
100%.
So we leave in the morning. Some of us, you leave in the morning, you say bye to your spouse, you go to work, you're there all day. And then when you come back, it's back into, it can be like logistics. And we've talked about that on a previous show, but it can be, okay, now gotta get dinner, clean up, do this, run the laundry, sit down, eat, chill out, go to sleep.
Yeah.
And you're not spending as much real intentional time, where you're spending 8-9 hours with somebody else. You might be spending 2-3, and then say like, okay, well, they're my weekend spouse. Like we talked about that on a previous show. We've covered some of this because it is so prevalent in our society today.
So thinking about work, just kind of to add on to it, it's like, and it's kind of fit maybe other areas too. It's like, most of us got we're thinking about something, right? And most of some of us that are quiet, I'm good, I ain't thinking about nothing. Most of us men, we kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm good. But we thinking about something, whether it's about that next bill or that next vision or dream you're trying to do, or something going on at work, or you got family dynamics, or you're dealing with some tragic in other areas of life. And we'll say, I know as men, we'll say like, okay, no, I'm cool. And like some people will let that go. Like the other spouse may let that go. Like, okay, he said he good. But another person come in like, okay, I know you're not. I know you don't want to talk to me now, but like leave the door open. I want to make sure I'm gonna keep tugging. They try to get you to talk about whatever's going on, because I see you being different. I see your mind is turned. I see you ain't moving like you ain't your jovial self. You kind of like, man, you coming home talking about you tired, this, that, and the other. Just want to just chill out and relax. And like people kind of give up, spouses give up and say, oh, okay, he said he was good, or she said she was good. And like, then somebody else will come in and be like, hey, I see something going on. You know what? Just I experienced something. They start just, I call it spitting that game, but like really they just really sharing themselves, and they end up falling into some kind of game. Yeah, could be, could be. I think most times it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes it do, but yeah.
What I find the biggest challenge is knowing where to draw that line, because when we're counseling and we're talking to people, it's like, well, they're nice, they're just nice, or they're just somebody I work with, and then they get too close, they get too intimate. So I think a certain amount of, well, not a certain amount, a complete amount of self-awareness is really important. Being discerning is really important, because you can't just be like, oh yeah, we're good. You can't do that. Another one that you talked about was friend relationships. Jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, some of us have like long-term friends that have been with us forever, right? 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And they've been our go-to as far as, hey, we got a problem, we going through something, we go talk to them. It's just easy, right? We got that familiarity with them, that, hey, that history, it makes it easy to kind of say, hey, let me just talk to them about what's going on with my spouse. And even if it's like, even not like actively kind of going through the details of it, but they that outlet though. Like, man, she tripping, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, even how to, like, get in her mind space. She over here talking about, I need to cut the grass, go pick up the kids, cook. Like, man, that shit, I don't understand. But, like, that's a conversation between you and your wife you should be having. If that's something, if you had a real issue with it, because you having it with your boy, now you come home, you feeling good. You're like, okay, I got that off my chest. So, you know what? Let me go on for another week. And you know what I mean? And the cycle just keeps going back on. And ultimately, like, you getting further away emotionally from your spouse.
Yeah. I think those, the opposite sex friendships post marriage can be very challenging.
Okay. Hold on. Opposite sex, you mean like saying you a female, you married to me, and you have a male,
like best friend.
Hold on. That ain't possible.
Well,
that ain't possible.
It's not possible. Oh.
That ain't possible. That's my personal. I don't think that's possible.
There's some people out here that be like, oh, he's been my friend for 15 years. Like what you saying.
If y'all doing that, you need to cut that out. That's trouble. That's trouble.
Not mixing words today.
Yeah. Ain't no man gonna sit there and let another man be a best friend to his wife. I don't think that's possible.
Ooh, we gotta hear from y'all.
And if he is okay with it, he not okay with it. I'm just telling you, okay, that's where we gonna take it. Okay, cool.
I wonder if it would be the same. Like, it's like, okay, you going to kick it with your dude best friend? Well, I'm going to go kick it with my chick best friend, the opposite sex. So I don't know about that one. I'm just saying. I don't think that you cannot have peers and friends of the opposite sex, but I just think you got to be real careful how close they are allowed to get to you and your family and how much you share. Because I do think that the definition of friend changes as you get older. Yeah. And as some of the relationships become more defined, as your marriage becomes more defined, there are a lot of people that would say, all the people in my wedding 10 years later, I don't talk to as much. Not everybody will say that. But say, oh man, yeah, that was my bridesmaid or that was my groomsman. Like, I haven't talked to them about 10 years or 15 years or whatever. So I think that friend terminology has to be defined. But as we're talking about it in this conversation, we're talking about emotional cheating and what that looks like in the context of relationships, what that looks like in terms of friendships. Like, oh, okay, we discussed work. Hey, I'm emotionally cheating when I'm connecting with somebody in my office or in my place of work they're getting a little bit too close to home. And then you have those friends that you're toting the line where you're sharing more with them, even unintentionally, but you're sharing more with them than you should be, and neglecting having those same conversations with your spouse. So it's kind of these weird evolving relationships. And in these relationships, you have to be, again, I guess my word for today is intentional. You have to make sure, hey, I'm prioritizing my husband. I'm making sure, or my wife, I'm making sure that they feel esteemed, that they feel safe, that they can have these conversations with me while still maintaining relationship, but putting them in their proper place.
No, absolutely. I think, there has to be, like you said, a line drawn. It's like, to me, that line that needs to be drawn is like when your friend or your, whatever part, your partner, whatever, say partner isn't like, that's my boy. They become your source. Mm-hmm. They become your source of your outlet versus your spouse becomes your source.
So you can cheat with same sex.
Oh, absolutely.
By just being like emotional, getting it out. Just with your friend and not even, because that's an interesting distinction. Like, okay, I'm talking to my girlfriends. I'm emotionally cheating on my spouse just because I'm not sharing these things with my spouse. Right. I'm instead sharing them with my longtime friend.
Right. They my source. They my outlet. The stuff I share with them, I don't share with my spouse.
And that's what you meant when you said, okay, then I go back home. I'm good. I already got it out.
I got it out. Like, that's off my chest. Okay. How you doing, babe, today? I'm good. But you didn't have a whole 2-hour conversation about them. And you looking like, okay.
But not with them.
But not with them. About them, but not with them. That's like, okay, you said that. With them, but not with them. You know what I mean? About them, but not with them. Yeah, rather like, man, that's. Yeah,
that's again another tough one to overcome, because then the spouse that's not being spoken with feels a sense of betrayal. Like,
if they find out.
Well, yes, if they find out, they feel like, well, how could you share that with them and not talk to me? well, what did I do wrong? Well, you said you didn't have anything to say. You were really da-da-da.
Right.
And that can go both ways. I speak in the woman's voice. I can't do like you, like da-da-da-da-da. Be like, well, I found somebody else that I needed to
Not
talk
bad.
to. Thank you.
That's not bad.
That's kind of
Just don't talk to me like that ever in life, though.
roll over.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
baby,
I
what's
promise you, I might elbow you in your side. But hold on, what you doing? Okay, just yeah,
Y'all don't have the kind of relationship issues that we have.
yeah.
Okay, my
Real
husband's
life.
scared that I'm
Real
turning
life.
into a man.
Hey,
Okay, so another one that we talked
2020.
about. Anything can happen.
anything can happen. I gotta be safe out here. All aspects.
We a hot mess over here. So, but another one that you talked about, we talked about work and we talked about friends. Also family, like emotional cheating with family.
Yeah,
That's really interesting.
I think this is a good one here. Just interesting because it's just a article we kind of discovered about that kind of talks about it. Like, how can you emotionally cheat with your family?
Okay, well, let me tell you. Let me answer that question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, there's the director of Marriage and Family Clinic in Denver, Aaron Anderson. This is what he said. Children are naturally empathetic, so it's easy for parents to cross the line unintentionally into making their child their spouse. That's like a big conversation, especially when you're talking about like blended families or single parent households where you're attaching to your child and making them your partner. And then when you get into a relationship, what does that look? But the article continues, which is placing children in situations where they feel more like a spouse than like children. It continues. It's not a conscious effort to exploit their kids, Anderson says, but the parents think it's much easier to talk to my child. They care for me and they give me a hug whenever I feel down. There are two types of this, which is called the instrumental parentification. This refers to kids caring for younger siblings or taking on household tasks. This is generally less damaging to children. The more problematic type is emotional. So we have the kid that is kind of taking over household responsibilities, helping raise kids, and we've either seen it or been a product of it in a lot of our households. So that's one side of being made to be an adult too soon. Then the other side is emotional, in which parents, through a range of behaviors, turn to children to fulfill their emotional needs. Kids who regularly experience the latter can take on an unhealthy role. Being the parent therapist, best friend in the parent-child relationship. And that second portion is from fatherly.com. So,
There's a
lot in there.
Yeah.
So we're talking about now we're emotionally cheating with our kids.
Yeah.
And I want to mention this because we talk about blended families, but emotionally cheating with your kid where, if you had a relationship, and this is also our story because you were a single father, raising our oldest. And, that was the home. It was you guys. It was you guys kind of figuring it out. And then trying to make a distinction when somebody else comes in, not necessarily just us, but for those of you that, hey, my kid was, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 when I got married. Right. And I always felt like I had to look out for my kid. I had to talk to my kid. I had to check on them emotionally and turning to the kid prior or without potentially turning to the spouse. Like, how does that work? What are your thoughts?
So actually I probably have lived at least that first part of it where, like you said, being a single dad, have a daughter that you're raising and like, you know what I mean? Like we're almost like living life together. There was nobody else that was coming in and out. There was no one in a relationship. So there was the years in there where, you know what? Hey, it's your turn to clean the kitchen. You know what I mean? It's like that. It wasn't like, hey, clean the kitchen. This is your responsibility. No, it's like, it was just different. Like how my mentally kind of processed it. And then it came problematic, I think, where I met you and then it was like, okay, how do you turn that off? Because she was my daughter was my partner for 5, 6, 7, 8 years of like living life. But when she grew up into a young lady, early teens, that's all she knew was just me and her. And now you bring another woman into a grown woman into the picture. She's like, hold on, how your daughter doing? What? She riding the front seat. I was riding the back seat.
That was real.
Like
that was real.
Like I mean, I don't. Why would I don't make up stuff?
Yeah.
You know that by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we ain't gotta say it's real. Everything we talk about is real. Cause like, honestly, why we say stuff is she says it's real. Cause like we just share us, right? We not perfect. We go through all kind of stuff. We didn't seen stuff, dealt with stuff, but like something that happens.
Yeah.
It happened to me. happen to somebody else too, right? Well, you know what? Hey, my son, we riding. I've been raising him. You know, he riding the front seat. Hey man, hey girl, you gotta get in the back. I picked my son up from school, and she probably like, what? Like, hold on, that's my son though. Like, that's my son. My son. We've been riding.
Or like something as simple as like making somebody's plate or doing, making somebody's bed or something like that, where it's just the way that you've done life for any length of time. And then somebody else comes in the picture and it's hard to make that shift. It's hard to say like, okay, it was he and I, and now it's he and I, now I have to make this distinction. It's hard also on the kid because they've been the adult. They've been, hey, this is what I do. You're king, I'm queen, or vice versa. And then somebody else comes and it's like, wait a minute. Like, and then they feel displaced. They feel uncomfortable. And that's when you can start to hear kids complain like, oh, I don't like them. Or, what do you not like about them? Well, they make me make my own bed, or they make me do the laundry, or whatever it is. That can be an uncomfortable place for a kid because they've been elevated to be equal. And now they're being pushed back to, no, now you're a child. So that does create some dysfunction in our children that we have to take ownership of. And we have to say, okay, I did this. What do I need to do? And there are options. Again, I always talk about therapy, but there are options for therapists. There are options for making sure that you are good within the context of your own home, having those spousal conversations, reading books, all of that, because there is so much to it when you have made that choice. Now, what about which might hit a lot of y'all because I understand and relate. What about when you're made to be the parent in terms of like a responsibility, like, hey, taking care of younger siblings or household tasks? What is that from what you got out of this article and how it might apply to our listeners and ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think that sometimes, just where typically that could be a single parent situation where you got other siblings and you're just in that parental role. Hey, I'm the oldest, so you're responsible for taking on, right? Mm-hmm. For taking on, whether it's, hey, making sure the doors are locked, making sure your younger siblings are fed, making sure they do their homework, which is the parental role, right? Mm-hmm. That can happen where even if you got two parents, that can happen.
Absolutely.
They don't have to have a single parent. Yeah, two working parents. So that's just one of them things where, like, you're looking to your oldest to kind of take on the responsibility. Maybe your spouse should be taking on as far as just making sure everything is good at the house. So
I think that one's a little trickier because it's a fine line. It's a fine line between teaching responsibility and accountability and making that child into the covering for the home, the protector of the home. Because I know when I was growing up, I was the protector of my siblings. But when my mom came home, I was a kid. When my mom or my dad wasn't there, I'm the oldest. Y'all better listen to me. But when somebody was there, it's like, okay, I better scoot on under there. I'm gonna get that. Who are you talking to? What you say? So I think that parenting is tough. It just is. So I think connecting with other couples that have kids, that people that are mentors to you, that can advise you. I think that's just a conversation that we all need to continue to have. Like, okay, I'm watching my kids. Other people see my kids, making observations, having real conversation around parenting, having real conversation around emotional relationship with your kids, your spouse, your friends, your family, because all of it can kind of shake things up. All of it can make things a little bit more. There's a lot at stake. I guess there's a lot at stake.
I think absolutely. I think the biggest one out of there is, like, let's say you got two adults or two partners trying to, like, build a relationship, stab each other, and then you have another parent on the outside, and you're like feeding into that other parent. So they say, you have an older parent, they need your help. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mama's older, she needs you. She's sick, she that and the other. But your mom has made you your emotional support, her emotional support, or your dad is like sick or whatever, he made you emotional support. And then, like, to me, that's almost the bigger issue, because it's like, now that takes the whole, like, dynamic of we're trying to build something, but now you're pouring into your parent. And that's to me, that's the most dangerous out of all of them. Because, like, that's the one that's like, man, okay,
when the kid is pouring into their parent.
When the kid and the parent, basically, they have their bond is so tight that it interferes with their relationship. Excuse me, it interferes with the relationship of what they're building as a husband and wife. You know what I mean?
That's deep. So the relationship of the parent-child is shifted. Now, is there a time that it does shift? Is there an age when it's like, okay, this is now a different kind of bond?
I don't know if it ever should, right? I think that line has to be drawn, right? Where if the other spouse feels like, hey, hold on, man, you over here, every time you call them, they'll say mama boys, right? Oh, you're a mama's boy. Because every time mama's call, you running over there. She need anything. Hey, mama going through it. Mama lost her job. Mama needs some food. It's like you pick up the call or getting in the car, burning down the road, trying to get to mama. Now that's y'all partners. Y'all in a relationship.
That's a deep conversation. But I also just want to mention before we close out our session today that we're not talking about relationships of trauma when there is a different kind of attachment. I think that that's something that you definitely need to seek counseling for, because it is something that is so that goes a little bit deeper why you have that connection.
Right.
So I know we could keep talking about this. We want to hear from you guys on this, but we just thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, and check out our website for more content and resources, fusemarriages.com. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to Fuse with Tristan and Michael.